That'll be all for the drafting aspect of the shock collar. Now the next thing now is to transfer to our fabric. Okay, you can make use of any fabric of your choice. You can make use of a plain fabric or a pattern fabric or even an African print. It is very okay. If you are making use of two different color of fabric, you use one color for this color area and use another color for this part. Okay, and if you want to maintain the same thing, you can just use the same fabric for all your bodies. Before you cut out your pattern, you might decide to add your joining allowance to this shoulder area. Okay, although we do not add this sewing allowance on the back bodies, but in case you want to add your allowance, this is how you are going to add it. 0.5 on the shoulder and around this collar height. Okay, you're going to add your allowance this way and you're going to cut it out. But for this, I'm just going to cut out the main bodies, then I'm going to add my allowance on the fabric. When you're done cutting, this is what you're going to have for the front bodies. We'll be cutting two of this, then we are going to cut two of the back bodies as well. So as for the collar area, by the time you are done, you are going to fold it in this way. This is why I said whatever we are marking is going to be unfold at the end. So we are just going to mark it. It's going to fall towards the back, towards the neckline this way. So by when we start sewing, you will understand. So if you want to have another color on the collar area, that is, you are going to cut that particular fabric you want to use for the collar is going to serve as the lining for the facing, meaning that you can decide to divide this pattern into two. You use the first half for that particular fabric you want to use for the collar, then the remaining half you can cut your lining. So in case, for example, you want to use a white fabric for the collar, you want the white fabric to show outside like this, you are going to use the white fabric as the lining or the facing. Okay, so let's assume you want all the bodies, both front and back, and your sleeve to be blue, and you want the collar to be white. So you are going to use the white fabric as the lining for the facing, so that by the time you fold it outside like this, the white fabric is going to show. By the time you want to transfer the pattern to the fabric, and by the time we start joining our fabric together, then we'll understand better. So now we want to draft our two-piece sleeve. To draft a two-piece sleeve, you will need your basic sleeve pattern. Although this pattern I'm going to use now is different from the one we use for the notch collar jacket, but it's still the same thing. It's just the method of drafting that is different. The next thing you want to do now is to find the midpoint of the sleeve pattern, just like I have here. I'll just highlight the line so that we can see clearly. So you find the midpoint of this line. So a two-piece sleeve is kind of sleeve that has its joining by the sides, on two sides instead of just one side, like our underarm, like we used to have for our regular sleeve. A two-piece sleeve will have two joinings, the joining is going to be on two parts and it's going to be under the arm, not directly where we used to have our joining for every other sleeve. So what you want to do, you divide your sleeve pattern into two this way, and you fold each of the sides of the line. You fold it in a way that is going to align with this middle line. Okay, you're going to fold it and make sure it touches the line. You fold the two parts this way. You would need to have a tape, either a paper tape or a seal tape. Just make sure you have a tape ready because you are going to tape down this. Then after taping it, you cut off this upper part. Okay, so now we have two sides. We have the upper part and the lower part. This is going to be below your arm and this is going to be on top. So the way we are going to be joining this is going to be far different from the way we join our regular sleeve. So what you want to do now is to cut off this upper part. This part is going to be at the underarm. Okay, so by the time we are done with this sleeve, this is how it's going to look like. This is going to be exactly on our shoulder and this is going to be underneath. So instead of having our joining here, it's going to be on these two sides. Do we get? So what you want to do now is to trim off, or you cut off this one at the top. Okay, but if you know that you do not want your joining to start exactly on this crease line area, you can come in by 0.5 inches. You can come in by 0.5 on both sides. Then you cut out your pattern on that line. So I'll just demonstrate it for us now. You might decide to cut it off on this 0.5, and you can also decide to leave it like that. Okay, although there are different methods of drafting or cutting a two-piece sleeve, this is just one of the methods you can use.